going to explain a bit about needles quickly. And over here I have our woven needles. Yes, Microtex is for woven. Although I do know some people use it for knit fabrics. Needles are also one of the things you need to see what works for you on your machine. Although there's a wonderful Schmetz app that can tell you what needle you need, and I have a printable page for you as well that shows you what needle you should use. It's also a bit of trial and error. So I've got from the strongest needle for the thickest fabric to needle for the thinnest fabric over here. This is for wovens. And then first I've got my jeans needle, and jeans needles are very strong, very thick, very sharp. Of course, to pierce through thick, strong fabrics. And this has nothing to do with the numbers on the needles at the moment. Of course, those sizes also make a difference. You need the right size needle. So here I've got a Microtex 90. You can see I don't always buy the fancy expensive needles. I buy whatever I can find at that stage and what's in stock. But you can see the difference. If I can focus here. There we go. You can see there's a difference. The size might be the same, but there is a difference in the point of the needle. So the Microtex is straighter and sharper, where the jeans one's a little bit rounder, but it also has a very sharp point. So of course that is so that it can easily pierce the thick denim fabric, and you want to use this for things like canvas, upholstery fabric, denim. Of course, I used it on these little scraps that I showed the different seam allowances and different seams with. Then you have your universal needle, which is exactly as it says, universal, supposed to be used for just about anything. And you can see it's got a different shape at the bottom to the denim needle. Now, some people are fine using universal needles on knit fabrics as well. I find it doesn't work for me. So of course, another one of those things that's trial and error. But universal needles, those are for your cottons, polyester, linen, polycotton, whichever you're using, flannel. Universal needles can work for that. I have, however, found that flannel really works a needle out very quickly. So sometimes I'll use a denim needle on flannel. It depends on how tightly woven it is. Things like percale are also very tightly woven. Then the Microtex needle has a very thin, sharp point at the bottom. And Microtex needles are specifically for thin fabrics, sheer fabrics like chiffons, georgette, viscose even. I love using Microtex 80 needles on viscose. I find they work really well because it doesn't hook your fabric. Silk, satin, those sort of things. You want to use a nice, sharp Microtex needle. It's got a sharp, thin point, and it pierces the fabric very easily. Now, try as best you can to keep track of your needles. Mine are always mixed up, but usually if your needle isn't working for you, that's a sign you need to change it. So anything like skipped stitches, thread breaking, not catching the fabric, those tend to point towards needing a new needle. Okay, here we have our knit fabric needles now. And the first ones, I've got them from amount of stretch. So that's for the most stretchy fabrics, and this is for the least stretchy fabrics. A jersey needle is ideal for cotton lycras, t-shirting, your general stretchy fabrics that you make clothing with. Something like a cotton lycra, scuba also, it can work for scuba. It's just got a normal knit. Now the difference between jersey, ballpoint and those things and your universal needles are the shape of the point. So over here I have, show you close up. Oops. See if it focuses better on the fabric. Okay. So one of these needles has a rounder point than the other. Can you see that? This needle over here, this is a jersey needle on the left. There, look at that round point. And look at this one's sharp point. That's a Microtex needle. Oh, it's very sharp. Yep, Microtex. Okay, so the reason the jersey needles have a rounded point is so that it will, rather than pierce through the fabric, you might find if you're using a universal needle, it's like it doesn't want to, can you hear that sound it makes? It doesn't want to pierce the fabric, but the ball point, look how easily it goes through. And then again, look at the universal. Look how it's hooking. So what the rounded needles do is it moves the fibers of the fabric to the side. It moves it to the side and it moves through smoothly. If you've ever tried to put pins in knit fabric and you've just stood there going, why are these pins not working? Are they blunt? What's happening? It's because you're trying to pierce the fabric, and knit fabric doesn't like to be pierced. Right, so then we get our ball point. So jersey for cotton lycras, t-shirting, scuba crepe, those types of things. Jersey is good for that. You might find if your scuba is hooking that you might find that you should use a stretch needle rather. And I'll get to that one now. Then the ballpoint needle is exactly what it says. It's got a more rounded point than the jersey needle. And the ballpoint needle is used for things like knitted fabric, not just knits, but knitted fabric that's got a loose knit, like this top that I'm wearing is cut and sew. And the ballpoint specifically is designed so it doesn't catch on the fabric and cause little hooks in your fabric. Then you have the stretch needle, which is slightly sharper, but it also has the rounded point. And the stretch needle is especially for very thin or high stretch fabrics like swim lycra, bonbon, DTY, all those thinner fabrics. And yes, I've heard people sewing DTY with Microtex or bonbon with Microtex. I found my machine struggles a bit, and you might have that your stitches don't catch. Right, so there you have your different needles. I hope you understand them a bit better. If you're feeling confused and you don't know what to buy, you are quite safe buying yourself these two, jersey needles and universal needles. And in general, you'll use a size 80 or a 90. So for universal, I always recommend buy 90, and for jersey buy 80, and you should be good to go for most projects.